Today is Monday, the 2nd of February, and we are reading from day 33 of the Book of Mysteries by Jonathan Cahn. Day 33, the day of the Resheet. He took me into one of the chambers inside the school's main building. I would learn later that it was called the Chamber of Scrolls. He led me over to what looked like an ornate upright wooden chest called the Ark. Inside the Ark was a long scroll, which he removed and rolled on a large wooden table, and from which he began to read. When you enter the land and reap its harvest, you will bring in the sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest to the priest, and he will wave the sheaf before the Lord on the day after the Sabbath. This is the day of the Resheet. The Resheet is the first fruits, the beginning of the harvest, the first blossoming, the first grain of a new harvest. The first fruits would represent all that would be reaped or gathered in the days that followed, the rest of the harvest. So on the day of the Resheet, the first sheaf of the spring harvest would be lifted up to God and dedicated to Him. And since it represented all the sheaves that would follow, by its consecration, the entire harvest was consecrated. It would all take place on the day after the Sabbath of Passover. It was the day of new life, the day that sealed the ending of winter and the beginning of springtime, and a day that contains a mystery of cosmic proportions. How so? The world is fallen. The curse of winter and the shadow of death hang over it. But God's will is to redeem it. And the promise of redemption is that one day the curse of death and the barrenness of winter would be broken, and the first fruits break the winter and bring new life. He looked up at me. "When did Messiah die?" he asked. "On Passover," I replied. "And then he was in the tomb on Sabbath." "The Sabbath of Passover," said the teacher. "So then when did he rise?" "On the day after the Sabbath of Passover," I said, "on the day of the Resheet, as the first fruits, when the first fruits are lifted up to the Lord." The day of the resurrection is the day of the Resheet. It had to happen on the day when the first fruits are raised up from the earth, because He is the Resheet, the first fruits that ends the winter of our lives, that begins spring, and that gives us new life. And if the first fruit stands for all, and if He has overcome death and this world, then so can I. The mission. If the Resheet has overcome, so then can you. Today, in full confidence of the power given you on the day of the Resheet, overcome. And we are reading from Leviticus 23, verses 9 through 11, and 1 Corinthians 15, verses 20 through 23. God bless you.